In this lesson, you're going to learn how to find the vertex of a quadratic equation. Let's first take a look at what a vertex is. If you look at these graphs, you see a U-shaped figure. This is called a parabola. If you haven't seen those before, that's the graph, what the graph looks like for a quadratic equation. Now, in a parabola, you've got either a minimum, which is the lowest point of the parabola, or if you look at the graph slightly below to the right, this one, which is facing downward, has what's called a maximum. The minimum or the maximum is called the vertex of the parabola, and you identify it as a point. So for the first one, the point is 1, 2. That's the parabola. The vertex. In the bottom one, the vertex is at 2, negative 3. Now, if you're given a quadratic equation like this next slide, and you don't know its vertex, then there's a way you can calculate it. So I'm going to pull up a formula right now that will help you calculate the x value of the vertex only. So just like when you were using the quadratic formula, you need to identify the a, the b, and the c in the quadratic equation. So a is 4, b is 8, and c is 3. Now to find the x value of the vertex, you only need the a and the b. So you're going to bring the negative over. So the formula is x equals negative b over 2a for the x value. So bring the negative over and replace the b with 8. In the denominator, replace the a with 4. So you'll end up with negative 8 over 8, which simplifies to negative 1. And this is the x value of the vertex. But we still need to find the y value. Once you know what x is, you can plug it back into the original equation for both of the x's. So we'll make it look like this. F of negative 1 equals, and then wherever there's an x, we will replace that with negative 1. Then we will simplify it using the order of operations. So we will first do the negative 1 squared. So we've got 4 times, and negative 1 squared is 1. I'll drop everything else down. Then we'll do our multiplying, because that comes next in the order of operations. So 4 plus negative 8 plus 3. And then we can add all those numbers together. So 4 plus negative 8 is negative 4, and negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. And negative 1 will also be our y value in this particular problem. Once we know the vertex, we're going to go ahead and graph that point. So negative 1 is located here on our coordinate plane. Now, if we're just sketching the parabola, we need to decide if it's going to open upward or downward when we're sketching. And that is based on the a in the original equation. In this equation, the a is 4. If it's a positive, then it's going to open upward. If it's negative, it's going to open downward. So it's all based on the a. So in this case, our a is positive 4, so we're going to draw a parabola that opens upward. And again, it's just a sketch at this point. Okay, let's look at another problem and doing it the same way. Okay, we have y equals 2x squared minus 4x. Here's the formula for the x value of the vertex. So let's go ahead and plug in the b, which is 2, and the a, which is negative 4. So we're going to bring over our negative and replace the b with negative 4. And then in the denominator, we're going to replace the a with 2. So we're going to have 4 over 4, which simplifies to 1. And this is the x value of our vertex. Now we're going to take our x value, which is 1, and we're going to plug it in for each x in the original equation. So using the order of operations, again, we'll square the 1 first, giving us 2 times 1. So really, we just have, when we multiply the 2 and 1 and the 4 and 1, we have 2 minus 4 to give us a y value of negative 2. So we're going to put that up with the vertex. So now we can graph the vertex. So the point 1, -2 is located right here on our coordinate plane. And if we go back and look at the sign of our A value, that looks like this was A and this was B. Our A value is 2 and it's positive, which means our parabola will open upward. Okay, and our next equation, the B is going to be -8 and the A is -2. So we'll bring over our negative. B is -8, and in the denominator, the A is -2. This will give us 8 over -4, which is -2 for our vertex. We will then plug in the -2 for each x value. So we'll plug in -2 here, and then here. Then we'll do the exponent first. So we'll get -2 times +4. Drop everything else down. Then we'll do our multiplying. So that gives us -8 plus 16 plus 1. When you add all those together, you're going to get 9. So 9 is your y value. So then we can graph our vertex, which is located at -2, 9, which is way up here. Now, if you go back to your A this time, notice A is negative. So because A is negative, the parabola is going to open downward. And again, at this point, it doesn't matter how wide or narrow you draw your parabola, because we're not sketching an exact parabola, just doing a sketch. Okay, one more. In this last one, this time A is a fraction. It's 1/3, and B is 12. So let me show you what you do when you plug in a fraction. So we've got -12 in the numerator over 2 times 1/3. So we really have -12 over, then 2 times 1/3 is 2/3. Now, if you're not sure how to divide that, then rewrite it, because this is just a division sign. So make it a division sign with 2/3. So this is another way to write it. And then use the rules for dividing with fractions. Remember, you keep the first fraction the same, which is the -12 over 1. Change the division sign to multiply, and flip over or take the reciprocal of the second fraction. And that would give you -36 in the numerator and 2 in the denominator, which is -18. And that's your x value of your vertex. Okay, so we're going to plug in -18. So we'll have 1/3 times -18. I'm going to put a 1 under that since it's next to a fraction. Plus 12 times -18 minus 20. Okay, so 1/3 times -18 is really just taking the -18 and dividing it by 3. So that's -6. Now, does anyone know what 12 times -18 is? See if you can calculate that. Hopefully you found that it was -216 minus 20. So now, if you add all that together, what do you get? -242. How crazy is that? Now, are we going to graph that on this graph? If we adjust the x and y axis, we could, but I think for now we'll just keep it as just the vertex, because the main thing in this lesson is understanding how to calculate the vertex using the formula for the x value of the vertex. And then if your graph is reasonable, if your vertex is reasonable, then graph the vertex and sketch the parabola. Okay, so that completes the lesson on finding the vertex of a quadratic equation. Good luck.